Here's the highlight of some of the biggest stories we tracked for you over the course of this week. Now, on the local front, the Naira exchanged to the dollar at 508 Naira at the close of last week, while the pound sterling also traded at well over 780 Naira at the parallel market. The total pension fund assets under the contributory pension scheme also rose by 480 billion Naira between the months of January and July this year. In the energy sector, the NNPC data shows that the corporation spent a total of 905.27 billion Naira on petrol subsidy in the first 8 months of this year amid rising global oil prices. On the international front now, China's National Development and Reform Commission has waded into the country's power crunch, attempting to reassure residents and businesses in areas hardest hit by shortages that it has the coal use and also supply situation under close watch. AstraZeneca's newly acquired Alexion division is also set to purchase the remaining equity in drug maker Kelem Biosciences in a deal that could be worth up to $500 million. The Swiss Financial Markets Supervisory Authority has also approved the country's first fund that invests primarily in crypto assets. And still on the foreign scene, lengthy queues formed outside gas stations across London again by midweek as the strain on fuel supplies continued, despite Prime Minister Boris Johnson saying the situation is improving. It's now time to bring you special packages prepared by our correspondents in this first report. The battle against illicit drug importation has been identified on the waterways following the interception of 1.52 kilogram of heroin and sacks of 10,672 kilograms of compressed cannabis sativa, valued at billions of naira. Now, the seizure made by the operatives of the Western Marine Customs Command also include expired drugs, bundles of printed labels, among others. TVC correspondent Ifeanyi reports.
On land and on water, the economic sabotage is not abating. The interception of 10,672 kilograms of compressed cannabis sativa, in addition to 1.52 kilograms of heroin concealed in a carton of noodles by operatives of the Western Marine Customs Command, is an indication that the nation's waterways require extensive monitoring.
We must read this water, this southwestern waters. We must rid it of all criminalities. If you're a good trader, legitimate trader, go about your business. That's what we told ourselves, me and my management team, and we have been on it. So we are not relenting.
We all know that drugs give so much impetus to insurgency and to other forms of security challenges. So stopping 11 tons, that's 10 point something, I guess?
Yes,
10 point something, 10.6, almost 11 tons. If you go by gram, if you go by 1 gram, that is enough to feed over 100 million people.
Also intercepted were expired drugs, including tramadol and other contraband items, as well as bundles of new printed labels bearing future manufacture and expiry dates.
Be careful. Just be careful. Go to a reputable pharmacy and approved by NAFDAC. See, it's our health that matters.
The Western Marine Customs Command also showcased hundreds of bags of foreign parboiled rice, footwears, bales of second-hand clothing that were seized at various locations on the waterways.
And now in this next report, the Trade and Investment Authorities want efforts at promoting made-in-Nigeria goods intensified. It made this known on the backdrop of government's commitment to deepening growth of the non-oil sector, job creation and even poverty reduction. Lara Folayo tells us more.
Rising unemployment remains a major cause of concern in Nigeria. Despite several strategies and incentives to aid the creation of jobs, the unemployment numbers continue to be significant. Entrepreneurship has been one solution to this challenge offered by experts. The Trade and Investment Authorities believe that an upscale of local manufacturing activities will drive growth of made-in-Nigeria goods, which will in turn create more jobs for the teeming population.
That basket you're weaving in Maiduguri can actually be a money spinner internationally. That adire you're doing in Abeokuta that ukpa that you're doing in Enugu can be a money spinner if a little addition is done, if a little standardization is done.
There is particularly a lot of emphasis on the creative, entertainment, cultural and tourism industries, where there are so many untapped potentials. A rise in global admiration and demand for made-in-Nigeria products is also a driving factor as to why the country needs to better take advantage of these opportunities and grow local brands.
A lot of nations in the world make a lot of money from their cultural heritage, but we have taken our cultural heritage for granted. We have looked down on our cultural heritage for too long. And you'll be surprised that what we are looking down on is being picked up by the international community, and they are using it to make money.
The trade and investment authorities have severally sought ways Nigeria's locally produced goods could be better publicized for improved patronage while attracting more investments for their production expansion.
On that note, it's time to delve deeper into the feature of the show today as we assess the sharp spike we've seen in the price of cooking gas. Don't go away. Now time to deal with the crux of today's discuss. Cooking gas is now gradually getting out of the reach of average Nigerians, as many are gradually also reconsidering charcoal and other energy sources. A kilogram of cooking gas is well over 625 naira or even more, depending on the location, forcing many households and eateries, especially in urban centers, to start seeking alternative means of cooking. Despite a proven estimate of 206.53 trillion standard cubic feet of natural gas deposits in Nigeria as of the first half of this year, the price of cooking gas has surged higher beyond the reach of Nigerians, with 5 increases at least recorded in the last 3 months. In our price watch list, prices of various kilograms of LPG have surged more than 50%, with the 12.5 kg content selling for about 7,000 to 7,800 naira, rising from 6,500 naira in less than a month. Now, records of gas price tags indicate that marketers also began the hike of the product from April this year, rising from around 3,600 for 12.5 kilogram cylinder to 4,002, and then by May we saw it also hit about 4,700, while it reached 5,000 naira in the month of June and then 5,700 in early July. Now, this sharp spike, according to dealers, might lead to further upward pressure on the retail prices of the product going forward. Joining me now to discuss this and much more, I have Basi Essien, the Executive Secretary of the National Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers. Good to have you on the show today.
Thank you, David. Happy to be here once again.
Well, the current surge in the price of cooking gas is alarming, to say the least. We have seen the price of 12.5 kilogram refill spike over 50% across the country, from 4,500 naira to 5,000 to 6,200 to 6,500. And now there are reports of a price band of at least 7,072 to 7,800 naira. What's new beyond the volume of imports we are largely dependent on versus our production base, and the new resolutions reached by your association in terms of intervening in this matter? What sort of discussions are being held?
Frankly speaking, that the whole development is sad, and like it's wholly been the short supply of gas, because we get only 40% of the amount consumed locally. Percentage is imported, and now knowing the hiccups and what is envisaged to happen from the government circles and the taxes and so on, it has actually put fears into importers, who I would say have really risked down the level of importation, especially with some being told that the fear that, paying in the past, they will have to pay in retrospect. We're the major bridge between the source of the products and the terminals down to the consumers. So we're taking it upon ourselves. Let's discuss with major players. Let's discuss with the terminal owners. Let's discuss with government. Let's discuss with big stakeholders and jointly find out a solution to what's on ground. And in the last 2 weeks, we've been moving around the whole country, talking with people. And the response we're getting is very, very positive. They are equally concerned because if it gets to a point, they cannot push out even the little they are it's too augur well for them too. So they have listened, and we have ways of taking care of short supply, especially like the government installation are supposed to equally account for some percentages of the local production which are not even working to the optimum level. What is keeping them? What is the problem? What are the problems they have? Let's look at these problems and discuss with government and see how this thing can be sorted out. Because while LNG puts in about 40% in the local market, some of these organizations put up too were supposed to equally contribute the same 40%. So if they were onto optimal production and putting their own into the market, we'll be talking about 80% or thereabout. And if that's the case, then if we have about 80%, we're sure that the 20% left will not be so expensive to import compared to it around. So we are actually discussing with several stakeholders, governments, and the big players to see what can be our own towards solving the current situations. We have gone so far, convert the masses to use LPG, which has been responsible for the increase in consumption. And right now, if they can't afford it, it's like you've taken somebody out of a problem, and yet you watch the person go back to his problem again. So we are actually consulting widely to find ways of seeing to this, so that even if we still have to be dependent on importation for now, we need to appeal to the government. They should support that in some of the new introductions they are envisaging or even want to put in place, so that the import aspect can still come in to augment what's available.
Nigeria currently consumes about 1.2 million metric tons of cooking gas, and only about 350,000 metric tons is being supplied to the local market by the NLNG, while the largest shortfall is also met through importation. What sort of measures do you see as adopting to more aggressively in the area of cost-cutting measures take up to make cooking gas much more affordable and not tilt the balance back to a heavy reliance on charcoal, kerosene, and other sources which aren't necessarily clean?
Like we all know and have said, our main and problem right now, the source of the problem is not having enough cooking gas. Like we said, the LNG accounts for about 40% local production, and the government commissioned a production equally meant to augment what LNG is producing. The other ones that we had hope that at their optimal production capacity, probably they should collectively by now provide for about 80%. If they are able to do that, then the shortfall that comes from importation, we will know that probably the importation may not be as heavy as relying on 60% importation. But right now, some of those facilities are producing to optimal capacity. Now we're trying to look at what is their hiccup, what they're having. Then let's discuss with their parent companies, with the government that set them up, on how to actually find a solution to what is the high. And the other one too, the other fear, like I said, it's the re-imposition of the 7.5% VAT and the current custom duties. Right now, yes, it's a way of generation for the government, but it's something that's going to be done at the wrong time. Now, what we're having currently is not even enough to sustain us, and we're depending on importation. And yet we want to stifle that importation source. What it means is that whatever comes in It's going to come in at a high price, and that high price is going to be passed to somebody. We are saying probably the government should tarry a while in this respect. The 5%, 7.5% VAT imposition and the reintroduction of custom duty to LPG. They should tarry a while until we are able to boost our local domestic production to the level that at least, even if we need to import, what we're going to import will be actually eligible. As it is now, even locally, because a lot has on import price, I would tell you international prices, even some of the local ones are still benchmarked against international prices. You find that even the little local production, which is not even going around, capitalize on the lapses, and the same products locally produced is being sold as if they were imported in, because people are cashing in on the shortage, the short supply, and raising the prices unnecessarily.
By the phenomenon where you have Nigerians now panic buying, so to speak, people are as much as possible to store. So those who ordinarily will rely on, say, 14K, 12.5, having extra storage of cylinders in their homes just to ensure that as we've entered the end of months, now buy gas at a much pricey value. Are you surprised by this?
You see, even though too, I encourage panic buying or stockpiling, because stockpile, how long will it stockpile? One day it will still fail to replenish it. So it's not issue of stockpiling that's the problem, but like are concerned as an association, and we are reaching out to stakeholders, we are reaching out to the government, major big players in the industry, to look at what we can do so that we can even avert this. Because I mean, if the stockpiling, if we start looking about stockpiling, we have to start talking. It's just like a petrol, when you start hoarding it, before you know it, you will drop guards in terms of safety, and then accidents start happening everywhere. So I wouldn't really subscribe to the issue of stockpiling. How many cylinders will you keep in the house? So, but the thing is that we are working in the interest of the populace. It's not because if they don't buy, what are we going to sell? We'll close shop. So we are working for the interest of the populace. That's why we're reaching out. Like I said, we'll reach out to, I wouldn't want to mention names, but we'll reach out to key players in the industry. And the responses we are getting, everybody is equally concerned. So I'm sure that very soon, some of these things will be addressed, and the issue of panic buying may not really come in. Yes, though, we'll be saying that if what we've identified are not taken care of, maybe by December you can be talking about buying it for 10,000, but from the responses we're getting from the consultation so far.
Now, just last December, the government launched its National Gas Expansion Program, a vehicle to enhance local gas supply and also utilization, with LPG as one of the key items on the plate. But 9 months already gone since the launch of this program, many Nigerians are still wondering when the result of such initiative will become visible and felt by the people. Going by the current indices we have at hand at this point in time, when do you think we'll likely see proceeds?
Going by what we've seen and finding out that gas actually it's a catalyst for major industrial development. Gas, not even of the future, it's of the present moment. And that's why the Honorable Minister 2020 to 2030 as the decade of gas. Well, we'll call it a decade because the time span, a lot of things must have been put in place. The Nigerian gas expansion program is actually working. Maybe for now, yes, like you said, it may not be something you see immediately, but they are working. My association has been opportune to have some collaborations with them, and in all this, they visited so far in terms of awareness of what they are actually doing. We've been involved in all those visitations and all the awareness program in all the states. Now, we're not actually looking at gas as cooking gas alone. We are actually looking as a product to move our industrialization to the next level, use it to empower our industries, electricity production, and even as a for mass transportation. In states they have visited, a lot of undergraduates and unemployed and employed graduates are being taken off the streets because they've been taught how to convert those vehicles to use autogas. And by the time, a little while for them to finish the training, and by the time they finish the training, they are able to own and employ people as well. So this is going on in some of the states that are actually collaborating with the Nigerian gas expansion program. So you may not see it coming up in a month, but actually it's going on. There are some government ministries right now, their vehicles, they have to do the conversion process, and these are being done, that have been trained. So the idea is going to generate employment in those states, and it's going to change the way we're doing business. So, but it's going to be a gradual process, because even as we speak, state government has even taken them so long for them to actually accept the activity programs of the Nigerian gas expansion program. So, but for the states that have actually keyed in, I think they are not regretting it. So let's just give them a little some time, because even as we speak too, we still have to consider availability of gas too, because when all these things should come on stream, our question is, will we have the supply to sustain it? So the NG program on course, and in the shortest period of time, we'll start seeing the dividend coming forth. But I can tell you that many people that have keyed into it, and especially in the aspect of employment generation, those states can't regret it, because they will actually take off some unemployment from the streets.
And wrapping up our conversation now, let's look further into the concept of better transportation of gas and other energy sources. How do we develop a working model that satisfies the needs of the times and also removes bottlenecks and casualties as well?
For the industrial aspect of it, laying pipes, how to move the industrial gas supply. Then for the other ones that go by trucks, the cooking gas aspect, we're happy that the government is doing so much in bringing up our railways transport, because this will ease the transportation of this product, and as well as reduce of transportation, because it's still built into the product as well. Our roads are not you can talk of, and the accidents that actually happen with this. But we believe that with the concentration the government is putting on the rail projects, it will form it will be the easiest way to transport gas, because we know the volume that can go on these rail lines, unlike what's on the road. So if those rail lines are actually finally concluded, connected to some of the terminals where the product is coming from, it will actually control of distribution costs, and safety, because we have less of these trucks on the road conveying these volatile products. That's alone, but even the petroleum products as well. So we can have it some road, but we really believe that the rail line actually go a long way to solving transportation of gas on road.
Thank you very much for your time on the show today, Basius, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, David. So it was a pleasure to talk with you.
Well, but just before we go now, here are graphic details of the air transportation data for the second quarter of this year. And that's it on this edition of Business Week. Many thanks for watching so far. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm David Alabi. Bye for now.